Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-game show, Game Day Live post-game show presented by Callahan Motor Company. The Cowboys get out of here with the victory, 24-6, favored by 6.5, end up winning by 18, but probably wouldn't think they won by 18, but they did, man. They got out of here, handled business. Another one of those kind of funny, ugly games, but they cleaned it up in the second half. They got the turnovers. You talked about it. You said the defense, we both said the offense and the defense need to raise their level of play. That happened for the most part. You got, 4 turnovers in that second half, and that pretty much put the game away. You made the plays when you need to make them on the offensive side of the ball, and the Cowboys walk away 5-2, heading into Chicago next week. Jesse, Holley, Skywalker Steele. Here we are, Cowboys Nation.
Yeah, if I'm the Cowboys, I take a deep sigh of relief, and I'm extremely happy that we got away with the win today. If I'm the Detroit Lions, when you go back and watch this film, the Detroit Lions,
They Detroited it.
Detroit went on and Detroited it.
Jeez.
And the score isn't truly indicative of how this football game really went. The Cowboys pulled away late in the football game when things had to just turn into their favor because they can pin their earbacks and go get the quarterback. But the Detroit Lions had ample opportunities in this football game to take leads to, when you get down to the 1 yard line, and you fumble, like that is top tier Detroiting.
I was saying that whole time, this is why every play matters.
Yeah.
And every inch matters, because he just missed a touchdown before that and next play fumble.
And for the Cowboys, you look at this thing and you say, all right, cool. We got out of here with the victory, and we saw some good things. We saw some not so good things.
Like every win this year, man. You come away like, hey, we got to improve.
And I think a lot of people, and I will say I removed myself from that because I thought coming into this game, there was this, people had this Madden feeling that you can just insert a player who's been done for 5 weeks, and all of a sudden, it's just going to click and everything's going to be, hunky-dory. You're going to have this explosive offense, and it doesn't work that way. You can't be away from the game for that long, and especially when you're not at that supreme elite level of the talent, and then come back in and all of a sudden it works. And you saw the nerves or whatever it was earlier in that game. We'll talk more about the play calling of this game. Detroit went on their bye week last week and did a hell of a job coming back in and being more disciplined defensively early in this football game. You read it off in the pregame show. This defense was 30 for 30. They were terrible across the board, and they had moments today where they really forced the Cowboys to into a deep level game.
They played inspired ball.
They did, and that's the thing that you have to worry about when these teams come in here. When you play the Dallas Cowboys, teams come here and say, we may only win 2 or 3 games in this year. Oh, but if we beat the America's team, that goes on the mantle for them. And it's going to be kind of the same thing, I believe, next week when you play against the Bears. They're going to come in and play inspired football and say, if we can get one on the road against the Cowboys, that does a number for our season. So the Cowboys better not come out flat like they did today next week.
Week to a week league, man. And if you want to know what I mean by that, just go look at Tampa Bay right now. They're probably about to lose. I don't know.
Go look at Green Bay. They're losing 23-14 in Washington.
Yeah. I mean, listen, teams are who they are, throughout the season, especially when you have 6 games of evidence on there. But it's still a week-to-week game. It's still a 60-minute game. You have to play it that way and approach it that way. And it was a tale of 2 halves for the Cowboys. First half, 6-3, and your defense isn't making the game-changing plays. And at the very end of the halftime show, we said, we both called out both sides. Hey, offense, you got to get it together.
Yeah.
Defense, you got to make a play. What happens? Literally, both opportunities. Defense comes out, interception on maybe the 3rd or 4th play of the game. Offense drives down 80 yards and scores a touchdown. On the backs of its run game, a nice little throw across I think it was the middle of the field or something, or it was Dalton Schultz, and they scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's what you need, complementary football. A little frustrated after that with some of these 3rd down calls and 3rd and 1s, and you're pitching it back. But again, we'll probably detail that a little bit more. But if I'm coming out of this game, Dak Prescott's first game back, he goes 19 for 25, 207, gets a touchdown at the end. Again, we expected a little bit of rust here. At the beginning of the game, you saw that. I think he was trying to, let me try to get a little aggressive. We said, hey, relax.
Yeah.
First quarter, he came out, tried to make 2 aggressive throws. Eventually relaxed, took the underneath stuff, was getting the first downs, moving the sticks, and eventually came away with a fairly efficient game when you look at it. 19 for 25, 207, and your first game back, a quarterback rating of 113. You will take that all day and tomorrow. Now, like I've been saying for weeks, man, build on top of that. And it comes back around to, let me circle his name right here, Kellen. We got to build on top of that, man. We got to do the things that worked, which happened in the second half.
The simple things.
You saw some of the pulls, and you saw some of the, simple things that work for you. But also, let me say this. A little bit disappointed in the run blocking from a consistency standpoint. Not going to lie. A little bit disappointed, Jesse. Is that something you saw?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even though the Cowboys rushed for over 100 yards, there were a lot of times. And again, that it goes hand in hand. It's when you see that Detroit had committed to stopping your run. They had sold out to stopping the run. Jeff Okudah, credit to him, he stepped up today and was like, I'm filling in, and I'm gonna come in and make tackles. And then the Cowboys early on didn't adjust to that and kept trying to run into the teeth of the defense where they had a lot of those guys instead of trying to get guys on the outside. And so, it goes hand in hand. But overall, you want to see more aggressive play from that offensive line of being able to move.
Great word.
And recreate that line of scrimmage for the running backs, because you have, I think, with Tony Pollard, you have one of the most explosive backs in the league. If you give him a crease, he can definitely make some room and make some things happen, but you got to give him an opportunity to go out there and do so.
And I think in the second half, you saw a little bit more of that aggressiveness from the offensive line because, as you said, overall, if we micromanage and look into this thing with a microscope, you'll see there was weird spurts with the run blocking. But if you take a macro approach to it, 32 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, you take that all day, right? You take that all day. We said when I came into this game, can they remain balanced? Can you not take the cheese to want to throw the ball all over the field in Dak's first game back, which I thought would have been a mistake because this isn't Madden, like you said. You just don't insert him in there and you throw the ball 35, 40 times and everything's going to be hunky-dory. You need to get him some type of rhythm and flow. And they did that. 32 carries and 25 attempts. A few glitches, throughout this thing, but they did enough on the ground. If we take a step back from a macro standpoint, but a micro standpoint, there were some points in there I was like, oh. And even, Aiden Hutchinson, had a game a little bit, got a sack, first sack given up by Terrence Steele on a third down. That's something that when we talk about things this week, third downs continue to be an issue. You did clean up the red zone a little bit. You went 3 for 4, I think, in the red zone this week. But you do need to clean up the third downs. I believe there were 3
of 8, maybe 2 of 8, 3 of 9.
3 of 9. 3 of 9 on third downs is not going to get it done. Not going to get it done. And 2 of those non-conversions, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1.
Right. Especially, what's disappointing about that is because it wasn't like you were playing against the number 1 defense in the league.
Nope.
You were playing against the worst defense in the league. And your inability to be able to convert third downs, and that has been an issue for this Cowboys team all year long. And I just keep playing it over and over and over and over and saying it over and over and over and over and over. That will not work against the good football teams. You have to be able to sustain drives. When you play a good quality football team, if you're not able to sustain drives and convert third downs, you will find yourself on the losing end and a lot of times in those games because you're not going to get 4 turnovers, every single game. They're not going to throw the ball away. 5 turnovers.
They come in bunches.
And they do come in bunches. But again, you offensively have to be able to do that because you want to give your defense an opportunity to rest. You want to have long sustained drives. You want to be the imposing figure on some of these games.
Now, let's switch it to the other side of the ball, defense side of the ball, where, again, if you take a macro approach to this thing, 5 turnovers, 5 sacks, 6 points given up, hell of a game when you take the macro approach, right? We'll come out of it again. One of the things I wanted to see was, can this run defense make a statement? I would say they did not make a statement today, right? And we'll dive into that. But I want to get to some of these standout guys from the Cowboys defensively. And, hey, Sam Williams, welcome to the NFL. Party. Welcome to the sack party.
Bottle service, VIP, where the sparklers at, where the honey's at. Come on out, ladies. Bring the sparklers for Sam Williams.
Without a doubt, his come out party. It's been approaching. Mm-hmm. He's been getting closer and closer and closer, man, and he's going to be a problem. I know probably shouldn't have dumped the ball, but I'm glad they didn't call it, a personal foul.
And yeah, so people got talking about the refs always going against the Cowboys.
That was close.
There were a couple today that was like, we got away with that one.
That was close, and I was like, don't throw it. Yes, he didn't throw it. He's a beast. Like, but he was a beast today, man. Two sacks, his first 2 sacks of the game of the season. A forced fumble on one of them, fumble recovery on the other one. Sam Williams broke out today, and I love to see it.
No, and the funny part about it is a lot of people have been talking this week about getting another linebacker and getting more players back into the fold to help the Cowboys. But you were happy to see another one of these young guys step up and make plays for this team defensively. And again, like I said in the pregame show, when you get to about week 15, 16, 17, you want these young guys, your Hendershots, your Fergusons, your Sam Williams,
Tyler Smith,
I think Deron Bland is getting ready to get a lot of playing time with Jay Lou with his injury. When you get later in the season, you want those guys to have in-game experience. You want them to have experience on the job so that when they get in there, this isn't because it gets tight. It gets tight later in the season when every single game matters, especially when you start talking about getting to that December 24th game against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be a tight game, and you're going to need all of these young guys to step up and make plays for you. So getting the game experience now will only help them in the future.
And you brought up Jordan Lewis, man. A guy who's had the microscope on him. Very, very up and down year so far. A lot of down. And coming off of that game last week, people didn't like his effort on certain plays and whatnot. And this week he comes up with a very clutch interception. But unfortunately, I don't know if he broke his foot. It's probably out there right now on Twitter. But he had a foot injury. And to me, it didn't look good.
Couldn't put any pressure on it, had to get help off the field.
I mean, I don't want to speculate early, and again, it's probably already on Twitter somewhere.
I'll look for it. You just keep talking.
Yeah, so it looks like Jordan Lewis could be missing some time, and a lot of us have been, like, very interested in Deron Bland. Like, what does Deron Bland, what can he do here? He already had an interception, kind of on a similar play, but Jay Lou came up big with the interception, but it looks like he'll be out, so Deron Bland will be taking his spot here, I think, moving forward. Who else on deep? Anthony Barr with a clutch fumble recovery at the in the fourth quarter, I think, to start that fourth quarter. 4 fumble recoveries a day. Football is weird that way. You never know where that weirdly shaped ball, how it's going to come out. But 4 fumble recoveries. 4 fumble recoveries? 1, 2, 3, 4? I thought it was 200. Oh, okay. There was a pick. Didn't Jordan Lewis fumble or something?
No. Sam Williams strip sack fumbled. Then he fumbled
it. Then he fumbled it. Correct.
He fumbled it, and we got the recovery.
Correct. So really, 3 fumble recoveries and 2 interceptions is what happened there. But I think this is the type of turnover in bunches thing you want to see, especially in a game where your offense was still trying to figure it out, which I feel like we've been saying all year. Figure it out. And they definitely rose to the occasion. You said, hey, we need them to make some plays. They made all the damn plays once that fumble happened in the red zone.
And that's what they have to do. This defense have been the alpha. They have been the apex male of this team this year. And so when they weren't getting it early on in Detroit, when you watch them play, they were so content into doing what they were doing and just driving the ball down the field, allowing them to run when they needed to run. And Detroit was like, we don't have to do anything else. And the defense needed to force them into doing something else. And then once they got that interception, then they were able to say, okay, now we can really go and get it. But the energy was down. They came out flat offensively and defensively. And that's why I put it on the defense, because Micah Parsons, you come out publicly and you say that this is still your show, then make it your show. Then make it to the point where you go out there and you change and turn the tide of the football game. And they did that, and that led to the Cowboys getting their first touch. Was it the first? No, it was their second touchdown. No, it was their second touchdown of the game after the interception. And then after that, it just kind of went, the roof.
And that's what happens when that momentum gets to your side, man. This is the post-game show presented by Callahan Motor Companies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about Callahan Motor Companies.
Tell them about Callahan.
I wish I could do my
You don't need no gun line over here, boss. Don't need no gun line, boss. Tell them about Callahan.
Callahan Motor Company is the finest, most quality-oriented pre-owned dealership in the DFW area. As a family-owned and operated business, they have served the public since 2009. From sales to trade-ins to finance, you can count on Callahan Motor Company with over 150 vehicles regularly in stock from over 25 different brands. CMC has a perfect car for you, and I'm not talking about Christian McCaffrey. I'm talking about Callahan Motor Company. So drop by the dealership in Keller, Texas, or visit CallahanMotorCompany.com to find your ride today. You can give them a call, too, 817-562-5223. When you go look at the rest of the defense, you'll see that LVE led the team in 10 tackles. I'll be very curious to see how many of those are down the field, because LVE versus Jamal Williams was our turf tough matchup presented by DFW Turf Solution. Who would you say won that one? I mean, Jamal Williams had a pretty good day. It looked like, let me see here. I think he ran for like 79 yards, average 5.3 yards per carry. He was kind of just chugging along until that 20-yarder.
Right.
Towards the end of that, or the beginning of that fourth quarter, end of the third quarter. But 5.3 yards per carry, you don't like to see that. 79 yards on 15 carries, you don't really like to see that, right? It's so weird with this run defense, because it's like they're not breaking off big gains, and it's just one big gain, and it was an important one because it got them, right before the fumble, it got them into the red zone. So I'd probably say Jamal Williams won that matchup. We'd have to go back and look at the tape when it comes to LVE, where to get these tackles at, because a lot of the season it's been downfield.
Well,
it looked like some of that
earlier
happened
in the
today.
game where he was getting them at the tight ends, which were 8, 7, 10 yards down the field. So
J-Ron Curse too.
J-Ron Curse as well. But Scott, this is the one thing when I look at this football team, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I'm not going to stop saying this. I'm not going to stop saying this. Let me repeat, I'm not going to stop saying this. I don't care about the regular season.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care about the regular season. I don't care if we win 10, 12, 14 games in the regular season. It's the things that I look at and I'm saying, when we get into the playoffs where you're going to have quarterbacks who are not Jared Goff, right? And you're going to have offenses who are not like, the Detroit Lions who will turn those things over. But if you have an inability to stop the run, if you have a problem with that, gave up 4.7 yards a carry today. And I think that is a recipe for disaster for this Cowboys team, especially defensively, because I do look at a Green Bay, and I know that they're not as well playing as well they are right now.
They might not make the damn play.
But they just scored a touchdown, so it's 21.
Left, yeah.
But I look at a team like we're going to have to see Philadelphia again, and I know that we'll have Dak Prescott, the Niners. Those are the teams that you're going to have to see, probably Arizona at some point in time.
New York.
So and I'm looking at teams that are like, they're going to try to run the football. And so you have to do a much better job. And I don't know what has to happen now, because we've all been saying, can you put Dak Prescott? No, we're not putting that on regular.
Don't put him on defense.
No, not at all. But can you put Micah Parsons back at linebacker and still be able to create pressure? Now, here where you insert Sam Williams, maybe by the time he begins to develop, you can say, you know what? He's not Micah Parsons, but he can create enough pressure so that we can kind of flip back and forth.
I've been hoping.
We don't see what Jabril Cox brings. We'll see what Damone Clark will bring. But this team has to find a way to be better in run defense, because in the playoffs, you're going to have to deal with that. And if you cannot stop the run in the playoffs, you will find yourself having another early exit.
Yeah, it's. I wanted this. When I said this is not a statement game, I meant that. But I thought it could have been a statement game for the run defense. And you take even if you take a macro approach to it, but if I take a micro approach to it, the things that concern me about the run defense showed up today, and it's when teams decide to go horizontal with you with the window dressing, and they do it we were talking about it. I love their scheme. I really do, because it's really power football, but it has window dressing behind it to get you. And there was one play where they had it covered on the strong side, but because of the motion at snap, it took Anthony Barr out the play and created that cutback lane for Jamal Williams or whoever 46 was, and he got like 4 or 5 yards. Not crazy, but keeps you in front of the sticks. And that's what happened last week, but even more to it, they had 11 on 11, right? They made you defend your running back. So now you had – honestly, if you want to talk about what this looked like, it looked like the first half of the Washington game. Washington, Wentz, Goff. Pick one, pick two, same dudes. They're not going to run the ball. But here's the thing. They had a lot of action pre-snap and action post-snap, and that just holds your linebackers a little bit, and they're not athletic enough to correct themselves. And I don't know if I hate to sound like a broken record like you're talking about the run defense. I'm gonna keep saying it too. I'm ready to see what these young bucks got, man.
Yeah.
Like, let them make their mistakes now, because what if you're going to need them later? And I don't want to put it all on the linebackers, but when it comes to your defensive line, they're firing up the gaps or up the field. They got to be aggressive in that manner. It's up to that second level to not get fooled, and due to scheme, they get fooled, and next thing you know, they're not athletic enough to recover, and here we go, 4.7 yards per carry.
I'll just say the way that this game kind of shook out a little bit towards the end of this game.
Must have got rocked.
I'm really glad that De'Aaron Swift didn't play today.
DeAndre
Swift.
Yeah.
Because you think about the runs that happened, and he is more explosive and I think even a stronger back than Jamal Williams. That could have made a difference in some of this stuff happening. But again, when you take what you can get, you get out of here with a victory, you go back to the film, and you say, all right, here's where we can get better. Here's where we,
so crazy.
But
6 point. It's weird because we were great win. Obviously, you won 24-6. But like you said, I am with you on this one. Week to week, we're going to obviously enjoy this victory for 24 to 48 hours. But I'm looking at it like, okay, you got 5 wins now. I'm very confident this team is going to go to the playoffs. I just need this to tighten up. I need this to tighten up by then. I do.
Like, I know if people just came in from Mars and they saw 24-6, you could be like, oh, that was a complete blowout. You're right, Cowboys led this game from the entire game. And it wasn't. It was a tight ball game for three and a half quarters.
Yeah.
It was a really tight ball game for 3.5 quarters, and then again, all hell broke loose at the end of the game. But that's the kind of stuff when you talk about Detroit should not be able to hang with you for 3.5 quarters when they have the worst defense in the entire National Football League. It should not be that way, and there shouldn't be things that you give up in the game against Detroit that you gave up that, to me,
room for improvement.
If not corrected, and we keep saying this now this is 2 weeks in a row we've talked about this run defense. About being
really all year. I mean, this has been the talking point because it's been, like I always say, quote unquote, the Achilles heel, but let's just be honest. It is the one thing defensively where you can say it's not been consistently good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It hasn't been consistently good. So, and obviously when you look down the road, it concerns you because you may play against a team. Honestly, even if you play against a team that doesn't run well, if they decide to scheme it up and game plan it, then it could give you some trouble, man. But that's the Turf Tough matchup presented by DFW Turf. And like I said, I think probably Jamal Williams might have won that one if it was, and that's a tough one there. I didn't know they picked that one, but it is what it is. Turf Tough matchup presented by DFW Turf. Hey, there's nothing sweeter than a Cowboys victory.
Nothing.
Nothing. Maybe except spending hours every week mowing your lawn and spending thousands of dollars every year on lawn maintenance. Just to have a yard that dies during the summer and gets muddy when it rains. But what if I told you could save all of that time and money, all while having a yard that looks as green and as clean as that Cowboys victory turf that they play on? Well, thanks to DFW Turf Solutions, your perfect lawn is only a call away. DFW Turf Solutions is the #1 artificial grass company in the DFW area. Hit them up at 940-365-9165 or visit dfwturf.com today. I would say, what is your parting shots here? But I would imagine it was a lot to do with that run defense.
I think my parting shots would be, while I don't want to come off as, the old man get off my lawn after a victory, but to me, and I'll go back and I'll watch the film. I might watch it tonight. I might rewatch the game tonight. It's not that late.
Yeah, it's not that late. I probably end up watching the broadcast again. Yeah.
But I just didn't like the way this team overall played for a large majority of this game. I wasn't looking for a complete blowout because I just didn't think they would do that. But there's
you went 24-13.
I went 24-13.
13. They didn't even.
I just feel that there are certain things that at this point in time we should be correcting. That's not correcting, and it's offensively, it's that offensive line that they'll have their moments where they'll go completely brain fart and miss some things, and today again we saw the penalties show up.
Penalties creep back up on offense.
On offense, those penalties crept back up again today, and I'm just like, I thought we would buy that. And every time I think we're buy something, it's like, oh, here we go again. And there was the run defense and the penalties and just Kellen Moore glitching and I think calling a really bad, maybe 2-3 quarters of football. And even in the fourth quarter when they were kind of up and running, it was like he runs a reverse. I'm like, what are we doing, Kellen? What are we doing? Like, why is that even an option in your play sheet at that point in time where you thought, here we are right here. We've been running the ball pretty well. I'm gonna do a reverse.
Hey, you put yourself at 2nd and 15. I mean, for what?
You got two guys.
Hey, Dak, get us out of this.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
You got your receiver running horizontally. A guy can come and take his knees out. You just do. There's certain things you're just like, why are you doing that? And we've seen that far too often from this offensive coordinator. So there's things that I'm just like, we got to fix this. We got to be better than this. And these are the games where you try to work on those things and get better at it. And I don't think we did enough of that today, of getting better in those areas where we should have.
I'm going to take the opposite approach and outlook to it on a more positive side, because obviously you want to have a victory. You want to have things to clean up coming out of a victory. And again, I know 24-6.
You don't really want to. You have to. But you would like to go into a game and be like, hey, guys.
Perfect, right? Yeah, you did everything. Yeah. But
what a way to, let's go.
Here's why we talked about rust being a factor. We talked about, one of the things I talked about throughout the week was, okay, the Cowboys found themselves for 5 games under Cooper Rush, but now the real test is going to be having a reset. Now Dak Prescott's back. Now you got to reset. Everything, cadence is different. The confidence in the routes you run, the calls you make, the quarterback himself, everything kind of resets now. And I said your defense is still going to have to kind of carry it a little bit until you find yourself again. Make no mistake about it. Just because you, like you said, you put him back in this game doesn't mean, we found out everything we need to do. No. I think it's still going to take a few games, and that's why I thought Detroit and Chicago was a perfect 2 games, and you get into the bye week. But I'm going to take a positive outlook on this because they came out. Things were a bit erratic, I think. Or talking about Dak Prescott, he was 6 for 9, I think, for like 60 yards or whatever it was. Try to take some aggressive shots, and then he said, all right, let me reset. Yeah. Let me calm down. And it was efficient ball from there on out. And again, if you come out this ball game, if you told me going into the ball game he was going to go, was it 19 for 24? Yeah, 19 for 24, 25, 207, 8 yards per attempt, and the touchdown at the end, I would come out of it with the dub. I would come out of it and say, all right, the first one's out the way. You got all the rust out. You got the nerves out. You got some of your aggressiveness you try to do. You got that out. And you didn't do it by costing yourself.
Right.
You could have, but you didn't do it by costing yourself. Right. And that's kind of what the Cowboys have been doing throughout this entire season in their 5 wins. It's been, don't turn the ball over. We did have to fumble, but I mean from a quarterback position. Don't turn the ball over and allow your defense to get these victories. And that's what they've done. Can now just build on top of that. Let's get into next week and see if we can do that. So a lot to, when you look into this thing as a micro standpoint, to fix, and we are going to do that, right? We're going to put in the tape. We're going to do all this stuff. But you came out of this thing with another victory, another good, I say good defensive performance, 6 points. I mean, how do you, they didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And for the first time all season, weird, man. It's always weird games, but that's football, man. For the first time all season, you scored 3 touchdowns in a ball game. First time all season. That streak is over. So build on top of that, Jesse, and let's see if we can get some good momentum heading into the bye week. I tell you what, I think this is one of those games where you'll be like, hey, y'all, we won. Feel good about the win, but I'm pissed off because we need to do more, right? So that film session, a little bit easier. When it's like last week, you lost, right. And the film session was like, but that film session is a little bit easier this week. I would imagine you've been in a lot of those film rooms coming off of a tough win as opposed to a tough loss. The energy is probably a little bit different.
Oh, absolutely. It's a whole lot different, and it's much easier to evaluate film when you win opposed to when you lose, because at the end of the day, you're going to try to spin the most positive parts of that win. Again, if you're being realistic with yourself as far as a team, I'm not talking about fans, I'm talking about as players watching that film, you'll go back and you say, yeah, we won, fellas, but boy,
clean up.
Offensively, we left some things on the field. Defensively, we gave up a lot of things that we shouldn't have, and that could have been the difference maker of this football game. Because again, you give up that touchdown, if they don't fumble, you give up that touchdown, you're talking about now that game being 13-6. And that changes the trajectory of this football game.
I mean, on the flip side, if you don't fumble at the 2-yard line.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Noah Brown.
Absolutely.
So, you know, this game's a beautiful game, man. It gives and it taketh away.
Yes.
Ain't that the saying?
Yeah.
Noah Brown gave him it. Jamal Williams took it back away from him.
And let's say this before we go. Got to give props to Bones Fossil and Kevontae Turpin.
Man, he get one.
Like, Kevontae Turpin is close to getting one. And what people don't fail to realize is, as a punt returner, do you know what a great return average is as a punt returner?
Like 9 yards or
If
something
you can
like
get 9 or 10
He's
yards.
like 20.
Coming into the game, he was averaging 12.6.
That's going up.
That's going to go up after he had a 60-yard return. But if any of you special team coach will tell you, if we can average 9 to 10 yards of return, that's a first down that we no longer have to get. And so,
bro,
he has been a weapon that a lot of times when the game is over, you don't really talk about it much because it didn't result in a touchdown. So you sometimes forget about those yards. But he has been a weapon. Bones Fossil, they have found something in that, and he's close to getting one. He's close to getting one, man. But I got to give shout out to him because I think he was one of those factors that giving that energy to the crowd, to the stadium, that when he had that big return, everybody was up and it was live, that energy was up, and that can definitely take you to where you want to go.
His 2 returns today, 14 yards and 52 yards.
Yep.
How many times do you say a guy who hasn't scored a punt return touchdown or kick return touchdown in the first 7 weeks, you say confidently that's the best returner in the game? I feel like he's the best returner in the game, man. And he hasn't even scored one yet. 52 yards, if this is correct from what I heard on TV. I don't know how correct this is. That's the longest return of the season?
Right.
I didn't know that.
Me neither. We found out something new today.
And he leads the league probably by far in punt return average. It's probably not even close, bro.
It's up there now.
It's probably not even close.
When you go 2 returns for 60-something yards, yeah, you're talking about 33-yard average. That'll definitely help out your overall total average per return. Yeah,
so shout out to Kevontae Turpin, shout out to Bone, shout out to Brett Maher. No, he hasn't been perfect because of the 259 yarders, but I mean, let's be honest. He made all 4 of his kicks today. 1 for 1 on the field goal, and then 3 for 3 on the extra points. Complimentary football is how this team is going to get to the playoffs, and then they got to figure it out at the end of the year so that they're going into the season knowing who they are, postseason knowing who they are. I still don't know if we know that just quite yet. We know what the formula is.
Right.
We know what the formula is, but from an identity standpoint, offensively, I don't know if we know how to get to that formula in an efficient way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And before we shut it down, New York Giants, they're up 23-17 with a minute left to go in the game. Washington is up 23-21.
Packers just got the ball back.
They got it just on the punt. I think it's about 20-something seconds left to go in that game. So is Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to do what he normally does? Got to drive the ball maybe 80 yards. Man. Yeah, about 81 yards down the field. So we'll see if Aaron Rodgers can find that Aaron magic.
Flick of the wrist.
Yeah, that Aaron. He don't have the weapons that he used to have back in the day, but he's still Aaron.
Go ahead and stay live on this one.
Okay,
we'll give you a little play-by-play. Go ahead, Jesse. What they come out in?
Oh man, they in 4 wide receivers, 10 personnel. Rodgers. I don't think it's even illegal. Can we do this? Rodgers flick of the wrist. And
he got it.
Sammy Watkins
at midfield. They got to get on the ball. Tick, 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 tick. They got to spike it.
7,
6, 5. Hail Mary, so they're not going to be able to get a playoff to get in field goal range.
They got 5 seconds left. Is that enough for another play? That's enough play. 5 seconds is enough for you to throw a quick out route. A quick out route and get out of bounds. You need about 3 seconds to do that. 3 or 4 seconds to do that.
This is why I couldn't do play.
I know.
You over here trying to be Jim Nance, and you got me screaming and yelling. All right, man, 5 seconds left, 21-23. Here we go.
Yeah, I think you got enough time to run a quick 5 to 10 yard out, and then I bring out my field goal kicker and see if he can't.
It's like 60-something yards if they get 5 yards.
Hey, this is what you paying the big bucks for. Something quick. Oh no, they went for
they're going for the game. They're going for. Okay, here we go. Flea flicker time or pitch back time. Still alive. It's still alive.
No flags.
It's still alive. It's still alive. Oh no! It's still alive.
Aaron Rodgers.
Turn it back, Aaron. Oh, now it's over.
That's over.
Oh,
it's
Aaron
over.
ruined it. Of course, A-Rod ruined it. And then on the other side of the ball here, 35 seconds left, 23-17. We're going to shift over to this game. Giants are up 23-17. We got an illegal use of the hands, first down for the Jaguars. It looked like it might have been a turnover here. Hands to the face by Dane Belton. It's a big game for Cowboys. We need the Jaguars to get this dub.
You know, it's weird that they didn't go for a quick little out route in the Green Bay game, and then try to do a 60-something yard field goal. I mean, I would.
Why not the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary?
True.
Lazard's like 6'12". Just throw it up to him.
That's true.
Hey, I ain't complaining. If Aaron Rodgers is out of the playoffs, thank you, sweet baby Jesus football gods.
Because I don't care what y'all say. If Aaron Rodgers limps into the playoffs, I don't want to see him. I just don't.
They ain't the same, but
he might not win the Super Bowl, but I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to go through him to get to our destination.
All right, this one's taking too dang long, but all right, Cowboys Nation, that will do it for Game Day Live, the post-game show presented by Callahan Motor Company. Shout out to Callahan Motor Company.
Shout out
to DFW Turf.
Shout out to DFW
Turf. Yeah. Shout out to all of our sponsors, man. Appreciate y'all for joining us. Check me out this week on A to Z Sports YouTube, A to Z Sports Dallas on YouTube, and Skywalker Still on Twitter.
Check me out on Hanging with the Boys 5 days a week at 1 o'clock. Check me out on Believe. Check me out on A to Z Sport Podcast on Wednesday.
Cowboys 4th and long, baby.
Cowboys 4th and long. And, if you see me, holla at me.
We out of here, baby. Love y'all, man. Peace.
Peace.
I'm in my zone, on the road to the Super Bowl. Every game on the schedule crucial, it take a toll. It don't matter if we're at home or on the road. You try to tackle, I'll truck a sucker and take it soul. I'm staring at 4th and goal, gotta find an open hole. A linebacker just close a hole where I was supposed to go. So now I'm